Football, friendship, and great stories. Conversations about the business of football and inside stories you don't hear on the mainstream media. The Director of Football Show. Welcome to episode 2 of the Director of Football Show. Today's guest is former World Cup and Champions League finalist, ex-Tottenham goalkeeper Michel Vorm. For your information, today's show was recorded on the 31st of July of 2023. And now, dear friends, here is Michel Vorm. In Nederlands, maar het Engels zonder te kijkers, yeah, and English. So, Michel, we know each other for a long time. Thank you for joining me here at the Director of Football Show. We all know you had an amazing career. You played in 2 World Cups. You played a Champions League final. You spent a lot of time in Tottenham in the Premier League, in Swansea. Amazing journey, but now your career is finished on the field. You've been quite a successful entrepreneur and investor, and also an ambassador of a luxury jewelry house named Gassan from Holland. Can you tell the audience who is Michel Vorm? What is his journey, and what is he doing at the moment in his journey in life after football?
No, thank you, Vitas, for inviting me. It's always good to speak with each other. But my journey so far after my career, at the end of my career, I started Maesons. It's a men's experience, what we call it. It's a barber shop with the manicure, pedicure for men, and a sports bar. So it's a bit more different than a regular barber shop, and that has gone quite well. I think we have now 12, 13 employees in total, and that concept we try to create in the future bigger brands of bigger shops, more shops throughout Holland, and hope for through Europe. And I've been ambassador for a big jewelry diamond company called Gassan. This is one of the biggest family-owned businesses in Holland. It started with polishing diamonds, so the diamonds are the big business, but obviously we do a lot of jewelry and watches. So I'm active there as well, especially because we do a lot of football. So the connection between football and the company is very big. So for me, it's quite interesting, because at the end, football is still where my heart is. But I also like to try different and new stuff. So Gassan suits me well in that space, especially because the connection with football is so big.
And Maesons, obviously, it's an amazing concept. For the viewers, if any one of the viewers is interested, where can they find you? Do you have an Instagram link, an Instagram account where they can follow you, or a link we can put in the show?
The Maesons. I think it's .nl or .com. I'm not sure. But on the Instagram, you can find it on the Maesons men's experience, and it's in the center of Utrecht here in Holland. If you Google a barbershop, we're top of the list because we're the best around. So it's been a very interesting years. Obviously, COVID happened as well, so it was not easy. But I think now we're starting to build a strong brand.
I will make sure I put a link below for the viewers. So you played in England and in Holland. What are the major differences behind the scenes off the field in terms of the organization within a club, like in Holland, let's say Utrecht, or Den Bosch, where you started your journey, and then you end up in a big club like Tottenham Hotspur, which is one of the top teams around the world. Can you tell us a bit behind the scenes? What are the massive differences in club structure and organization?
Yeah, I think the thing is that at the end, the importance, the money, and all the people involved is so much bigger in the UK than in Holland. So that changes also the pressure and everything what's around the club. and obviously it's a million pound business, and obviously in Holland as well, but on a smaller scale. So if you have, for example, in Holland 3 training pitches, in England you got 6 or 10. Your staff members are more. Obviously, the quality of players is better. So you need to have a certain type of quality also around the training ground, from the food you eat to the nutritionists to the chefs to you can't compare it in Holland. Obviously, Utrecht, for example, does it also in smaller steps or in smaller people around the club. But in the UK, the main difference is the amount of obviously the money that goes around, but also put back in the structure of the club. And I think Tottenham is the best example, because when I came there at the White Hart Lane, and I left there when it has no name yet, but the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, where you can also watch Beyonce, American football. They've done boxing, so it's much more than just a football club. And this is where I think a lot of clubs are going. It's Tottenham is a global brand, and I've seen it changing from the minute I came till today. It's been massive on and off the pitch. So and if I look at the club like Utrecht, where I spent a lot of time since I was 15 till my 27th, you can see they made steps, but you can't compare it what happens in the UK. And at the end, it's all about the money, the attendance of the people in the stadium, and the viewers on TV.
During our time in London, man, I don't know if you remember, but one of the first thing I told you was like, "Hey, Mish, man, you would be a good director of football." For me, when I watch you, like, we spent some time in London, and obviously we spent some time in Ibiza as well, and it was always interesting to see how people basically gravitated towards you. You always consulted everyone. When I saw you walking in, you're getting text messages. You had this aura in and around the training ground. And even when we were like, when we went in Ibiza for dinners and we went out, and, your phone was always like ringing and calling, and people asked you for advice or where to go. Like, people always consult you
Yeah,
for like everything, like, financial things. And even with staff members, everybody like gravitated towards you. Always, it was like this, I don't know, there's this energy when you walked in. So, and I said to you, like, I said, you would be the perfect director of football. You'd be the perfect sporting director. So my question is like, when do we see Michel behind the desk as a director? Will it ever happen?
to
Is it
be
part of the
honest,
plan?
I don't know if obviously you never know what the future brings. But no, I must say I like to be. I have a very big network of people, and it started at obviously at the dressing room, that I like to help people. I think I'm a genuine guy. I think people will they feel that, you know I can speak the language in the dressing room, but I can also speak with a director of football or someone who's a director at some other businesses. So I think I speak all the languages, and I think the energy I spread is positive, and I think this is where it starts. But thank you for the praise. And I'm still in a journey to find out what do I really like. I've been a goalkeeper coach for 6-7 weeks at Tottenham. I helped out at FC Utrecht last season for 2 months. You speak with a lot of people, so I also try to find out, like, where do I want to go in my next chapter. So obviously I've been entrepreneuring, if that's a word, the last couple of years. I meet a lot of interesting people around Gassan. I still got good contacts at Tottenham, and Tottenham is a very exciting club, if you ask me, especially where they're going. So yeah, to answer your question, I don't know if I ever become a sporting director, but I'm very keen to explore my possibilities, not per se on the pitch, but more off the pitch, to work with people. So obviously, you need to be more than just a nice guy to be a sporting director. But I know I got a good network, and I know that people like me. So this is a good start. But we will see what's going to happen the next few years. But I'm definitely open for a lot of things, and I like to learn. So yeah, we will see.
Your former neighbor is known as one of the most interesting and knowledgeable people in football. It's a person I really admire, a person that I think receives a lot of negative media, but I don't think it's justified. In my humble opinion, from what I see and what I know, and obviously you got a network, I got a network. I think he's maybe the best operator in the football industry out there, Mr. Daniel Levy. What did you learn from him? Because obviously he's a very interesting and knowledgeable guy. When he speaks, it's well, he runs a clean ship. He makes he doesn't do crazy stuff. Okay, they speak about always about titles, but if you see the infrastructure that Tottenham built in the last years, there I think there's no club in the world that is up to that level. What they created behind the scenes. What can you tell me? About him, and what did you learn from Mr. Levy?
Learn it. I find it hard to say, but I think if you've seen, I've seen from close by what he has done and what he's doing with a club. Of course, on the pitch, this is what the most people see, uh, and it's not been easy. But if you look as a whole, as where the club is going and where it is now, from the training facilities to the stadium, and what I mentioned before, with all the excitement going around when Beyonce performs, or when the NFL is playing. Um, and the brand that he's built over the last, let's say, 20 years, it's been unbelievable. And I think as a supporter, as a football fan, sometimes it's hard to understand, um, because you want to see your team winning trophies and winning every game and playing nice football. Um, uh, and I think if they nail that bit as well, it's yeah, it's going to be massive, and I genuinely believe that they will, in but what he built, I think I think he's the longest serving chairman in the Premier League, and well respected. Um, so yeah, for me, I think someone who has a vision, and he doesn't matter what other people think or say. Uh, this is he looks at the bigger picture and the long term. So this is something. If you ask me, what did you learn? What I've seen and what I've learned is, he just doing is keep believing in yourself, and doing what's, in your opinion, the best for the club as a whole. And of course, there will be setbacks or things that go less. But overall, if you've seen where he took the club from and where they're at now, I think it's one of the most profitable. I know because I saw the stats. One of the most profitable sport clubs in the world. I think at least in the top five, between the big NFL teams. For a club that doesn't win trophies, or doesn't play the best football, I think that's an unbelievable achievement. And so it's more than just what you see on the pitch. And I think this is all praise to Daniel.
So obviously you got a massive network. I don't I don't think people actually realize how big your network is, and you dealt with a lot of people. But if you could mention like a leader or a big football administrator or a director of football, technical director, however you want to call it, who is a person that you really admire and where you learned a lot from, and it really had an impact on your career, and you would say like, hey, Vitas, man, that's the guy. He should be on the next director of football show podcast.
Oh, it's a difficult question because obviously I worked at I played for a little bit for FC Den Bosch and at FC Utrecht, at Swansea, at Tottenham. I've been to the national teams, national teams, yeah, from under 17 till the first team, and you meet so much people who have a certain uh, idea about football or on the technical side of things or the sportive side of things, and so I'm always been open in the sense of to learn from everyone, or some things you stays in your memories and some other things doesn't, but to name someone that I think, I don't really have a role model or someone I look up to be honest. In that sense, so I find it a very difficult question.
Let
At
me
Tottenham, we didn't have a sporting till yeah till till I left. I think in my period, um, but yeah, at
let me
Swansea,
let,
did we,
let me redefine the question a bit. Tony Jimenez,
yeah,
the goalkeeper coach, was a
yeah,
massive impact for me. Like I learned so much of him. Um, you
yeah,
introduced me. You introduced me to Tony. I mean, Tony had obviously
yeah,
also an impact on you. Like it's more or less like it's
yeah,
not like looking up to a person or like like a role model, but more in the sense of like a person that came by in your career and it really like someone that basically opened your eyes a bit. And for me, honestly, like that was for me one of those people was definitely Tony, in my goalkeeper coach journey. So who
yeah.
had an impact? Who had an impact on you that really said like, okay, wow, this was something like okay. Can also be like someone in your family. I mean, somebody of your friends that just had like, hey, that guy actually or that person actually had a positive impact on me, and I would never be the person that I am, that I am today, or I never would have the career.
Yeah. Um, Again, I find it very hard because at the end, it's also, and what you said about yourself with Tony, it's also what you do with it yourself. So you can meet a lot of brilliant people or people who are very successful in their work, but it's also what you gain from it, and what you learn from it, and so I work with coaches like Louis van Gaal, with Pochettino, Brendan Rodgers, Michael Laudrup, Mourinho, um, with a chairman like Daniel Levy. At Utrecht, you have Frans van Seumeren, who is so massive important for the club. Um, a former teammate of mine who's sporting director at Utrecht, Jordi Zuidam. And there's so many people that you speak with and who can inspire you. But I must like Wessel Wezenberg, you know him as well, as my former agent and a good friend of mine. He's been my agent for I don't know 15 years. Very intelligent guy, very direct, very honest. I think people like that, like Louis van Gaal as a manager, I found him very, he's probably one of the best I ever seen. Someone who's so direct and open, but also who engage with all his players, staff, and family members even. And I find that very interesting. If you're so successful, but you're still, a human being, and I find that very interesting. And I work with Maarten Aerts as a goalkeeper coach, Frans Hoek as a goalkeeper coach, Tony Jimenez as a goalkeeper coach. Like these people you work with daily, who have such a they had such an impact on my career. But also the persons, obviously they're very enthusiastic and crazy about goalkeeping, but also you look how they treat people, how they make players better, and so there's so many people I work with who I gain something from. So I find it very hard to say to name just one or
I
I don't know.
realize,
I find it
I
very
realize what an idiot I am for asking you this question, because I look at it like, and if I look through your career and the names you mentioned, it's like you ate at the top restaurants every day for years and years. So then I'm asked, what's your favorite restaurants? And then it's like, well, I don't know, man. Like, like because you ate, yeah,
it,
you dealt with the top of the cup every day. I just realized now again, like when you're mentioning all the names, like, wow, every day
yeah,
for
and I probably
you.
miss a
Yeah.
yeah, you know.
By
Yeah. So
your answer is actually perfect. When you mention all those names, I mean, I can imagine it's just like it's a learning,
Adrian
it's a
Tucker,
learning experience, 24/7 for
can't forget.
15 years straight.
Yeah, but also all my teammates I work with, and you try when you retire, you also start to realize how special that's been, with some relationship you build, and why some players are where they at, or why, yeah, in the good and the bad. So I've been I've been very blessed, and yeah, I love to learn and to speak with a lot of people. And like now, for example, at Gassan, Benno Lezer, the CEO of the company, the boss, such a relaxed and such a nice guy, so important for the rest of the company. Just to be a normal guy, and it sounds very simple, but it's not. Especially if you have 500 people you have to look after. So, yeah, it's a very difficult question.
In terms of the CEO of Gassan, that shows leadership, that's experience, and that's something unique and not many people have. We shared many stories. We laughed a lot, but all the people love a good story. In your football journey, is there a funny, crazy story that you can tell us about that you never would hear in the media, but it's actually something you will never forget? We had a funny story with last week. I interviewed the director of football, former director of football of Hajduk Split, and he had a player, and he had the option to go to Hajduk Split or to Huddersfield, and he didn't know what to do, and he actually flipped a coin to make his choice. That was quite an amusing story. Is there a funny story that you can share with the viewers?
Uh, I don't know about if it's not funny, but I think it's a good story, and it because I don't like to talk about others, but if I look at myself, at my career, and things that I've been through or seen, um, in 2012, after my first season at Swansea, I had a very good season, I must say myself, and I was very happy at the club, and that's my first time abroad. Worked with Brendan Rodgers, one of yeah, he was very important for my career as well. Um, and I remember that I was at the after the season, I had the Euros in Ukraine and Poland, and I was on training camp with the national team. And so in the evening, I had a missed call from him. But I saw it the next morning. So I saw a missed call, Brendan Rodgers, after the season. I didn't understand, and I called him back straight when I woke up. He didn't pick up. I went for breakfast. I came back to my room. I saw another missed call from Brendan. Then I saw a missed call from Wessel Wezenberg, my agent. I thought, what's going on? And then Wessel texted me, missed call me, and then I spoke with Brendan, and he asked me some information about at the time he had Jan Vertongen, but he thought he was Dutch, but he was Belgium, and he was the captain at Ajax at the time. I think it was Luc de Jong. He was a young striker at the time. And I thought, like, why do you ask me this information? Because they're never ever gonna sign for Swansea. And then the story unfolded, and he said he wanted to he was on the verge of signing for Tottenham as a manager, and he wanted to bring me in. At the time, they had Brendan told me they had Brad Friedel at the time, a bit older goalkeeper, and he says if I was keen to join him to Tottenham, and I was very surprised. And then after one season, and he was leaving, and he was telling some stuff about the club, and then my agent called me as well with the same story, and I was very excited at the time. And so he said, yeah, just we keep in contact. Let me know what your thoughts are. Between now and 48 hours, you will know what's going on. They're gonna sack Harry Redknapp at the time at Tottenham, and then they're gonna announce me as a new manager. And long story short, I was obviously very excited. He called me. Nothing came out. I saw Redknapp was sacked, but nothing came out. Nothing came out, and he called me a couple of days later that Liverpool came again, because they came as well for him. And I don't know what kind of reason, but he couldn't get an agreement with Tottenham, and he signed for Liverpool. So yeah, he made me very excited at the time, with something at the end that didn't go through because he went to Liverpool for what kind of reason, and he couldn't bring me in there at the time, and I missed my opportunity in 2012 to go, and probably going as a first goalkeeper, or at least competing with Brett for that spot. And then I think Villas Boas came to Tottenham. They signed Hugo Lloris, and obviously Jan Vertongen went there as well. And a couple of years later, I still went to Tottenham, but uh, obviously at a different time of my career, and a different path at the end. But it was quite a story. If I would have gone there in 2012 with Brendan, it was a different situation, obviously, where when I went there a couple of years later. So I think that is a story that not everyone knows. So
Yeah,
that was
that
quite interesting.
that's cool. I like that. That's a very interesting story, and I also understand why Brendan would take you on. And I think how I look at you as, like, I think you got unbelievable leadership skills, and I definitely understand why they came back later on to sign you at the club. And obviously, you speaking with people at Tottenham, you left a massive although you didn't really play it a lot, I think you definitely left a legacy at the club. So we're coming also towards the end of the show. So my final question to every guest, as an ex goalkeeper, well, I can't call myself ex goalkeeper in front of you, because maybe I would be good in cleaning your boots if I came along your
A
career.
goalkeeper is a goalkeeper. At his own pace, and at his own. Everyone has his own career. So yeah,
That's true.
at
If
the
you
end
had
we are all one big family. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. The goalkeeper, the JK Union. So, if you had to sign a goalkeeper, who would you sign? And who is the best goalkeeper? Or rephrase the question: who is the best goalkeeper you ever saw?
The best goalkeeper I ever saw. But signing, like, if I was a sporting director and
Okay,
you
if you're a
could choose
sporting
whoever you
director,
want
if you
to.
had to sign a goalkeeper, yeah, who would you sign? And then in the same time, like I could say, like if you wouldn't be able to answer that, then I would rephrase the question and say, like, okay, who is the guy that you saw? Like,
Yeah,
man, yeah, this guy is unbelievable. Like he has everything. Oh,
now what I like about a goalkeeper um, is yeah, you need to be yeah, overall uh, good at everything. Obviously some are exceptional at one thing, but overall, you need to do uh, yeah, especially nowadays. If you look at the clubs like Manchester City or Arsenal, what they demand from a goalkeeper is different than years ago. So I think um, there's some goalkeepers I love to look at. I've seen Courtois. He's been a very good goalkeeper over the years already, and not only because of what I've seen making his brilliant saves, but also he still is becoming better. People always have his thoughts about um, if he is good enough with his feet and whatever. But I think even there he grew in that space as well. I think he's for me, and I think he showed as well the last couple of years. He's been one of the best in the world. Um, but also Edison, I mean, like it's so hard to be a goalkeeper at Manchester City, and it's a joy for me to watch him play. He's very exceptional with his feet, because people think, yeah, but City is a strong squad and they're winning everything. Yeah, but it's also hard if you are not as busy as other goalkeepers, but still making important saves when they need to. And this is what Courtois is doing at Madrid and Edison at Man City. But I also like, if I look at Raya from Brentford, I love to look at him as well. He reminds me a bit of myself.
of yourself, yeah, I was about
I
to
think
say.
yeah, I think we're same height, not the biggest, um, but he's so exceptional with his feet, making the decisions, making game-winning saves, and yeah, there's something about him that I really like to look at it. Also, what his energy. I think yeah, I'm very excited to see where he's going now. Because it looks like he's leaving the club. Um, so yeah, if I can name them three, but obviously like a Neuer and even Lloris. For me, I work with him. I seen him daily. Unbelievable reflexes, so fast, such a professional. You know, what? How long? 11 years? Yeah, 11 years at the club is unbelievable. You know, so yeah, Onana now at Man United. Also see what's going on. If you see what when he came in at Ajax. I remember he was playing some games at young Ajax. He didn't do well. People were
Mhm.
doubting him, and look at him now. A couple years later, one of the most excited goalkeepers to look at. So I've seen a lot. I was blessed. I worked for a couple of day or 10 with Edwin van der Sar at the end of his career at the national team. Seen him from close by. Very relaxed, very calm, very good goalkeeping. So um, yeah, for me, if I could sign someone now, um, yeah, Bart Verbrugge, who is now at Brighton. I think he's very bright. Obviously he's Dutch. Um, so that's excited me very much. It's so young, so professional, so mature at a young age, 20 years old. He got the height. He can play with his feet. A lot of growth still in him. So this I think if you ask me, Also age-wise, I think like you look at younger generation goalkeepers, and it's not easy to find good ones. And at the end, it's also about the goalkeeper coach, what he's doing with the qualities of a goalkeeper. Yeah, Bart Verbrugge, I think it will be a very good signing for Brighton. And your other question was again.
No, that's basically you answered it. You answered the question more in better than I would expect it in very detailed. So no,
Yeah, I can go very much more in detail, but I try to overall that's very understanding for people, because goalkeeping is much more complicated than what people think. But for me to give an overall idea of what I like and what I look at in for a goalkeeper is more or less uh, the goalkeepers that I just mentioned. Um, so yeah, it's a it's an
fa-
interesting. I think nowadays also goalkeeping is get more recognition than before, and I think a good goalkeeper is so important, and consistency. Because one good season is not enough. Or one unbelievable season is not enough, and that's why sometimes it annoys me that people underestimate like Joris. I work with him to be so consistent over years. Of course, you will have lesser games or bad periods, but that's normal. But overall, if you look at it, uh, it's very hard at the level you play at to be successful and playing 2-3 games a week.
Michel, thank you very much for your time. I hope we'll catch up soon in real life again as well. Would be nice to share a coffee and have a chat with you. Thank you for joining the director of football show. I reckon the viewers will and the listeners will love the podcast. Thank you very much again, and I can make a little prediction here. We'll see you back behind the desk as the director of football, but I can't tell the people yet where, but because that's still the big secret. But they will find
Yeah.
out in the future.
So thank
Thank you so much.